Hi, I'm Joe Marin, Senior Analyst, Digital Technologies for Printing Industries of America. And we're going to talk today a little bit about color correcting images in the RGB color space. Now, many designers ask, what is the best tool in Photoshop to use when I'm color correcting images? And there's probably dozens of tools in Photoshop that you can use to make color adjustments, but the real question that designers should be asking is, which color space should I be color correcting my images in? And the answer to that question is the RGB color space. Now, you will always get better results when you color correct images in the RGB color space. That's because the CMYK color space is much, much smaller. Simply stated, you and Photoshop have less colors to work with when you convert images from the RGB to CMYK color space, which makes color correcting images in the CMYK color space more difficult. Secondly, when you convert images to CMYK, you're introducing black into the separation. Now, depending upon how the black was generated in the separation, it can be very difficult or even impossible to make color adjustments to the image. Now, most people choose to correct images in the CMYK color space probably because it just makes sense. For example, if you had to make a cyan adjustment to an image, you might choose to use the Curves tool and then select the cyan channel and then bend the curve up or down. Or you might choose the magenta channel if you have to make a magenta adjustment, and so on. Now, the RGB color space and correcting in the RGB color space requires a little bit more thought. So what if you have to make an adjustment in the RGB color space to the magenta, or if you have to make an adjustment to the yellow in the RGB color space? Well, here's how it's done. All you have to remember is RGB and CMY in that order. If you want to adjust the cyan in an image, use the red channel. If you want to adjust the magenta, use the green channel. And if you want to adjust the yellow, use the blue channel. It's that easy. RGB, CMY. Now, in addition, many people like to see what the image is going to look like on screen when the image is converted to CMYK, so that they can see what colors are going to be affected and what colors are going to be lost when the image is converted from RGB to CMYK. Well, you can color correct images in the RGB color space and get an on-screen preview of what the image is going to look like when it's converted to CMYK. Here's how that's done. So here we are in Photoshop, and we want to preview how the image is going to look on screen when it's converted to CMYK while keeping the image in the RGB color space. Well, the first thing we're going to do is go under View, Proof Setup, and make sure that it's set to working CMYK. Now what we'll do is select View and Proof Colors. Now what we're seeing is an on-screen preview of how the image is going to look when it's converted to CMYK while keeping the image in the RGB color space. So now we have the best of both worlds. We can color correct in RGB, and we have the preview of CMYK imagery on screen. So just remember, RGB, CMY for color correction, and use View, Proof Colors to preview how the image is going to look when it's converted to CMYK in Photoshop. Until next time, thanks so much for watching.